Got a 1997 Lexus LX450. This is basically the Lexus version of the Toyota Land Cruiser. And we got a check engine light on right now. So let's go ahead and plug in the Innova 5610 and see if we can get it figured out. Yep, we've still got that light on. We'll get this guy plugged in. Now the owner told me that this light has come on a few times. He had another little code reader. He scanned this and said that it's the P0325. So let's verify that. I'm gonna turn this on. Now we have a little light here on the reader. Let's plug that in. All right, so this is auto link in progress. All right, so there's the P0325 stored. This is Knock Sensor 1, Circuit Bank 1. Now, he told me that that was the code, and so we did just confirm that here with the Innova 5610. He said he's even cleared the code, and it will stay off for a few days, but now he says every time he clears it, it's just staying on, or it comes right back as soon as he starts the engine. So let's go ahead and disconnect, and let's turn off the key. And let's go do a visual on this real quick. You can see this is the 1FZFE. This is the inline 6, 4.5 liter. Now this happens to be the same vehicle that I also personally own. I also have a 1997 Lexus LX450. We absolutely love it. Now the knock sensors are right down here on the block. There's one just behind this oil filter, and then there's another one that's further back. But I think we're gonna have better access lifting this up, taking off the tire, and then we'll take off these little splash shields and see if we can get in through that way. So the owner's here helping me do this, so he's gonna pull the tire off, and of course we'll get a jack stand underneath here to make it nice and safe while we're underneath there. Now he did swap this engine out or take this out and have it rebuilt. I was talking to him about the knock sensor. He said he did not replace the knock sensor at the time that they rebuilt the engine, which was just about 3 or 4 years ago, but he did go ahead and pick up a replacement knock sensor here. This is the REPT 311203. We may need to use this, or if we have an issue with the harness either broken off or snapped off, or maybe even just come loose, we may not even need this. But let's pull this tire off and see if we can figure it out. There we go. I'm trying to film this from up top, and he's trying to get to this from below, because that's the knock sensor right there. Yep, it's broken off. Well, that's why a visual inspection is so important. Okay, well, it's a good thing we got a replacement, because that is completely sheared off. Got a 27mm socket, 2 long extensions here, and a wobble right on the knock sensor right down here. There it is. There's our old knock sensor. And that would make sense why we're getting that error code. Here's what it's supposed to look like. Let's see if we can get the broken piece out of the harness. Right here, there's the broken off piece in the old harness. So we're gonna get something to squeeze that, and hopefully we'll be able to pull that broken piece right out without too much trouble. If we push that right there where your thumb is.
It doesn't feel like it's moving when I push it down.
We're having a hard time disconnecting the broken piece. It looks like it got really hot and may have fused together. Okay, well, there's our harness right there, and I don't know if you can tell or if it shows up, but it's melted. That is just melted. It's completely melted and fused to the old part that broke off of the old knock sensor. So unfortunately, this is one of those situations where we're going to have to do the wrong thing the right way, and we don't have a replacement harness. They're about 10 or 15 bucks online. We don't have time to wait for a replacement harness for this, so we're gonna just do, it's just a 1-wire connector. So let me show you over here what we're gonna use. Here's the new knock sensor. Now this is also an aftermarket. It's really not ideal in these Toyotas. A lot of times they are pretty sensitive, but we just got this little butt connector slide on tab, and it looks like it's gonna hold on pretty tight. And then we've got this little solder connector as well that we're gonna go ahead and just cut that old one and heat this up and connect it. We'll get the new knock sensor installed, and we'll see if that will at least clear the code. If this doesn't work and it still shows up or still gives us a code, which might be the case because this is an aftermarket, and of course we're not using the right connectors, but we'll go ahead and just try this. If it doesn't work, that's okay. The owner knows that he can go ahead and order an OEM knock sensor, and we'll get that replacement harness as well. But let's see if we can get this one put back together, at least get this thing back on the road and get that check engine light to turn off. Now here's the connector. We ended up having to cut this, but you can see right there, completely melted and fused together. We were squeezing on this, but there's no way that we could get that to release. We even tried, you know, the screwdriver trick. This one's unfortunately no good. All right, so we're just gonna thread in the new knock sensor now. You got to make sure this is nice and snug, but don't overdo it, because you can strip those out. Click, click. The new knock sensor is in. We just need to repair that harness or splice in that wire and plug it back in, and we should be good to go. I am trying. There we go. Finally got that to come apart, but completely destroyed this connector, so there was really no saving this because it's all melted. But that's the part of the knock sensor that we were trying to get out. We were really trying to reuse this, but just too damaged beyond saving. So we're doing it the wrong way, but we'll get it. Now, since there's really no room in there, we're gonna take off this dipstick tube mount, and we also just took up another ground wire right here, just so that we've got a little bit more room to get down in there and try to solder this on. This is really, really a cramped space, unfortunately. We got the new wire on there, just need to heat that up and melt that in place. We're using these heat shrink solder connectors. So let's just go ahead and plug that into the new knock sensor. All right, well, there it is, all back together. Everything is plugged in. Now you can see that the wire is a little long. The owner says he's gonna grab some wire loom and maybe some zip ties and tie that up out of the way so that it doesn't get in the way when changing the oil or, you know, taking off that oil filter. Now, if this doesn't work, we'll go ahead and just order the OEM harness and probably go ahead and get the OEM sensor as well to make sure that that is sending the right signal and that the computer is happy. Let's go ahead and start it up and see if we can clear that code and see if it stays off. He says that most of the time it would just come right back almost immediately, so we'll see if this makes a difference. Didn't really have any issues with the engine as far as performance. Everything was still running fine, just had that check engine light, which we do need to have that turned off here in California in order to pass our smog check. So let's hook up the Innova 5610 and see if we can clear that code and see if that worked. All right, we'll power that on. Okay, so we've got our knock sensor. Looks like as far as our monitors, we don't have the catalytic converter or the EGR monitor complete, probably because he did try to clear this earlier today, but we're gonna hit erase. The erase was successful. Now it's gonna rescan. Engine is off, so I doubt we would get a code coming on again, but we'll start the engine here in a minute after it does its thing. There you go. So we don't have any powertrain DTCs or freeze frame data, but the engine is off. So that's really, you know, we need to start the engine in order to test that knock sensor and see if we're getting a signal there. All right, well, our check engine light is off. He said last time it would come on almost immediately. So let's go ahead and rev it a little bit. All right, check engine light is still off. That's good. Let's go ahead and scan this one more time. So still no powertrain DTCs. That's good. Well, let's go for a quick test drive and see if that will stay off. And we need to put these splash shields back up there as well. We'll do that real quick before we put on the tire, and then we'll go for our test drive, and then we'll make sure that that check engine light stayed off. Yeah. All right, check engine light is still off. That is great. We'll just go for a quick little test drive and make sure. All right, well, we're back from a test drive and the check engine light is still off. I've got the Innova hooked up. No powertrain DTCs or freeze frame data stored in the computer. Repair is confirmed. The light stayed off, at least for right now. Now, it still might come back on. You know, these are pretty finicky when it comes to those knock sensors. And all over the forums, everybody says you do need to use OEM. And I've already talked to the owner about that, and he seems to agree as well. So he's probably going to order the OEM just to have on hand in case this check engine light does come on. And of course, order that OEM harness as well. So we're going to call this one fixed, at least for right now, and this is good to give back to the owner, and he's happy that we were able to get that sorted out and figured out. A little bit of a pain to get in there, but we got it done. Thanks to the Innova 5610, we're able to not only diagnose this, but clear that code and verify the repair as well. I hope you guys liked the video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you don't mind. That does help me out. I'll get a link in the description where you can pick up this exact same scan tool from Innova, along with some of the parts and tools used in the video as well. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.